श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। प्रदण्डमहाकाय सूर्यकोटिसमप्रभः निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां विशेषे पौरोगणां निधे सर्वविद्यानां दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। मूकं करोति वाचालं भङ्गं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवं। व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मणदेवासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणे स्वयं व्यासेन कृतितं पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीं त्वामनुसन्दतः भगवद्गीते भवेद्वेषिणी। नारायणपुरो व्यक्तादण्डपं व्यक्तसण्डपं मण्डस्यान्तस्तु मे लोकाः सप्तद्वीपाचमेदिनी। अवतीर्णश्च कालट्यां गीतारीन्द्रदश्च याचिदस्पीठप्रतिष्ठादायेदाच्यङ्गरो गृह शङ्कारूपेण मच्चित्तं अङ्गीकृतमोऽद्य किङ्करे सदा माया शङ्कराचार्यमाश्रये। So we were previously looking at 57th shloka. That was Bhagavan explaining the characteristics or the attributes of attributes of a Sthita Prajna, the perfect sage, the man of wisdom, and the one who has realized. He was explaining that in response to Arjuna's questions, we looked at in the 54th shloka, where Arjuna asked 4 different questions: Ka Bhashya, Sthita Prajna Ka Bhashya, and then Sthitadihi Kim Prabhashita, how does he speak? Kimasita, how does he sit? Vrajeta Kim, so how does he walk about? So he asks about those questions, and Bhagavan is explaining those characteristic attributes of that Sthita Prajna. And we looked at in the 55th shloka the first characteristics, which is the attribute which is Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. So it's the satisfaction in the Atma itself. So he is happy. Happiness is within himself. So he is Atmaneva Atmana Tushtaha. Then in the 56th shloka, we look at that Sthita Prajna looking at happiness and pleasure and pain both same. Sukadukeshvanudigmamanaha sukesha vigataspradha vitaragavaya krodha sadhati muniruchate. So he is equal. He looks at sukha dukha. He does not get he is not unconcerned. He is unconcerned by those things. And sukesha vigataspradha. So when happiness comes, he is not jumping in joy. And similarly, vitaragavaya krodha. So he does not have any of this raga, bhaya, krodha, all those things. He does not have. Such a person is sthitadi. So such a person's mind is steady, and he is the one with sthita prajna. And then, so that's where I think we stopped last time. So that shloka, 56th shloka, was explaining the second question, Kim Prabhasheta. So he continues again answering that question. So in this shloka, 57th shloka, we look at Ya Sarvatra Anabhisnehas Tat Prapya Shubha Shubham Nabhinandati Nadveshti Tasya Prajna Pradishtita. So the person, that Sthita Prajna, the wisdom of that person remains established, who has not attachment for anything anywhere, who neither welcomes nor rejects anything, whatever, good or bad, when he comes across it. So that's the meaning of this shloka. So Yaha means who, Sarvatra means in all condition, Anabhisneha means unattached, Tat means that, or anything, anywhere. So here, Prapya means attaining, Shubha means good, Ashubham means evil, Na means neither, Abhinandati means delight in, Na means nor, Dveshti means dejected or rejected, Tasya means his, Prajna means knowledge or wisdom, Pratishtita means is fixed. So if you look at a little bit more in detail how Sri Shankaracharya in his Bhashya, and also a little bit on Srimad Sudan Saraswati in his Vakya, how they explain it. So here Krishna explains the third attribute of that Sthita Prajna. He talks about absence of attachment, delight, and aversion. So he talks about those things: absence of attachment, delight, and aversion. So here the prajna, the wisdom of that person, of tasya is of that person. So the prajna of that person, the wisdom of that person, the person here talking about is a sannyasi. Pratishtita, so that means it remains established. So the wisdom of that person remains established. Who? Anabhisneha, who has no attachment for. So what is he? Does not have attachment for sarvatra, anything, anywhere. Okay, even for the body, life, and so on. So he is anabhisneha. He has no attachment for. So anabhisneha means it's a kind of again mental state, mental modification. Okay, in relation to something else. So which is again born of tamoguna, and it is owing to this presence of this mental state, which again which superimposes on oneself the loss or gain of others, and which goes by, which is also known as love. Okay, so or prema. That is sneha. So that's how Madhusudana Saraswati explains in his Vakyana. He says that sneha is a mental modification which is formed, born because of the tamoguna, and because of that the person superimposes oneself on the loss of gain or of others, and this is also known as prema, that is love. So the one person who is free from that is the sneha or the love, is in every way is known as anabhisneha. So the one who has no attachment, so that is this kind of Sthita Prajna, the person who has realized, and that sannyasi is known as anabhisneha. But Madhusudana Saraswati in his Vakyana, he also adds a statement here saying that it says that he does not have any love, but he should, of course, should be full of love for Paramatma in every way. For the material world, he does not have any love, but for Paramatma, he is full of love. And that needs to be understood here. When it says anabhisneha, it doesn't mean that he doesn't have love for Paramatma as well, but he has that love. That's understood. He says that. So he has no attachment. This sannyasi, who remains established, okay, the wisdom of that sannyasi remains established, who had the of the sannyasi who has no attachment for sarvatra, anything, anywhere, even for his body or life and so on. He does not have any attachment for that. Na, and also that sannyasi is the one who na abhinandati, so neither welcomes. So again, he does not praise by expressing particular delight or anything like that. He na abhinandati, he does not praise anybody, he does not welcome anything. And na dveshti, he does not reject or deject, he does not condemn with internal ill will. So he is like that. And tat, anything, whatever. So anything, whatever that comes, okay, shubham, ashubham, good or bad. So shubham is again anything that causes happiness, and ashubham is anything that causes sorrow. So anything that's coming, anything and whatever that shubham or ashubham, good or bad, that's coming, prapya, that means when it come across, okay, when he comes across that shubham or ashubham, that is who he is the one who does not rejoice on meeting good, or nor he rejects the bad when he comes across it. So that person's wisdom remains established, pratishtita. So that's what Bhagavan says here. So the person who has no attachment, anabhisneha, and anywhere, okay, so he has no attachment to anything, and na abhinandati, he does not welcome anything, and na dveshti, he does not reject anything, whatever, shubha or ashubha, he does not welcome or reject or anything, whatever that comes his way, prapya. So whatever that comes across him, say, whether it is be it shubham or ashubham, it is good or bad, he does not get rejoice, happiness or rejection, sorrow because of those things. And it is only the unenlightened persons that are that it is only for the unenlightened persons that his own wife and other things which causes the happiness and other welcome things and also sorrows. But for a Muni, Stita Prajna remains established in that wisdom, and that's why he is not. So here again, the word Abhinanda is praising. It is again Madhusudana Saraswati in his Vyakhyan explains that it is a mental modification, it is a state, a form of delusion, again, which recounts the goodness of their goodness, it recounts their goodness. So again, he says it's because of tamoguna and it has no value whatsoever, because by somebody praising one, it does not make them any better than what they are. Instead, in some cases, it creates envy. So that's why jealousy, and that's why it is not good. Similarly, dvesha is also another kind of mental state modification caused from delusion. So where again one leading to one denounce or condemn the other. So this hatred is always born of tamoguna, and it is again of no use, because when denouncing something, it is as less as not doing anything. So that's why these two, praise and hate, which are form of delusion, are born of tamoguna and cannot exist in a man of steady wisdom, sthita prajna, who is delusionless, who is in pure mind. Therefore, in the absence of these any disturbing factors, that the wisdom, the prajna, that is the wisdom that is concerning the reality, the supreme reality, the supreme self, the Paramatma, of that person, of that Muni, who has no attachment and who is free from joy and sorrow, remains established. It remains established, it culminates in yielding its fruits. That is, he realizes that he stays in that realized state. And such a person is the man of steady wisdom. And that's the meaning here of this shloka. So again, Muni is Mananath Muni. So that means he is always thinking inwards. Okay, so Muni means the one who is always thinking inwards. And mind can think inwards and also think outside. Normally, for all of us, it thinks outwards, right? So anything that we see, hear, touch, sense, whatever through our senses, we feel, that's what mind thinks. It does not think inwards, the Atma, towards that. It's very difficult. But for that Muni, it always thinks inward. That's why it's called. So that's why Sri Madhusudana Saraswati here says that any other seeker of moksha, anybody who is seeking moksha, should have no attachment for anything anywhere. Just like this Sthita Prajna, he should follow that route and should not have any attachment, and person should not prize on getting what is good, nor he should condemn on coming across what is evil. So that's the meaning here. And also, Madhusudana Saraswati explains that in the previous shloka, in the 55th shloka, it is explained that it is positively explained how a man of steady wisdom, that is Sthita Prajna, speaks, right? Where it said that dukkeshu anadigmanaha sukeshu vigata spradha vitaraga bhayakrodha stita dhir muniruchyate, right? So there it is said that he sees dukkha, sukha, all these things same, and he is vitaraga, he does not have raga, bhaya, krodha, all those things and things like that. So it was positively stated in that shloka of how he speaks, ka bhashate, answering that question from Arjuna. And in this shloka, in the 57th shloka, here it is stated negatively that he should not utter any speech in the form of praise and condemnation, things like that. So it is said in the negatively, saying that he should not do that. So again, of such a person who is in that state, whose wisdom is steady and who is not praising or rejecting, and who is like that, and another who is not having any kind of love for any attached sneha for any of these things, anything. So of that person who is that free from elation and dejection, the wisdom arising from the discriminations in such a person remains established. So it remains established, and that's the meaning here. Now, Bhagavan in the next 6 shlokas, he answers the next question. So the third question Arjuna asked, Kimasita. So how does he sit? So that's what Bhagavan explains in the next 6 shlokas. So we had one shloka explaining first Bhashya, right? Description of him. So where Bhagavan said he is Atmaneva Atmana Tushta, he is so happy in himself, right? So that's what the first question. What is the description? Then the second question of Kim Prabhashita, right? So Ka Bhashate. So how does he speak? So for that, now we looked at 2 shlokas, 56th and 57th shloka. 56 said that happiness and sorrows, he looks at everybody, everything same. And then here it says that he navinandati nadveshti tasya prajna pradishtita. So he does not praise or reject or deject anything like that. So such a person's wisdom remains. Now we look at the next question. So Kimasita, right? Third question. So that's being answered in the next 6 shlokas. So starting from 58th shloka. So here Bhagavan says, Yada samharate charyam kurmo angani va sarvashah indriyani indriyartebhyas tasya prajna pradishtita. And when this one is fully withdraws the senses from the objects of senses, as a tortoise fully withdraws its limbs, then his wisdom remains established. So here a example is given of a tortoise withdrawing his limbs. So we'll look at that in a second. So now just looking at the word by word meaning. Yada means when, sanharade means withdraws, cha means end, ayam means this, kurma is tortoise, angani means limbs, iva means as, sarvashah means fully, indriyani means senses, indriyartebhyah means from the sense object, tasya means his, prajna means divine wisdom, pratishtita means fixed in. So in that person, the wisdom remains steady. So now let's look at the explanation for this shloka. So here again, Bhagavan explains the 4th attribute of that Sthita Prajna. He says that Sthita Prajna, a complete withdrawal of the senses from the objects. Okay, so that's the 4th attribute of the Sthita Prajna. So here, when this one, that is ayam means this one. So when this sannyasi, that is who is practicing the steadfastness in knowledge, in Atma Jnana Nishta, that's Sthita Prajna, samharate, when he fully withdraws. So fully again is suggests the absolute firmness in that withdrawal. Okay, and withdraws suggests full control over the organs. It is not like we do. Okay, we, since I'm including myself and you, everybody, right? So where we try to do something, but our organs are distracted and it is not in our control. We try to do, for example, we try to do bhajans or Sahasranama Parayana or whatever. Our mouth is chanting Sahasranama, but mind is somewhere else, doing shopping or going somewhere or doing something else, or thinking about office or something, cooking or whatever, right? Or a TV serial, whatever that we see, it's somewhere else. So here, Samharate fully withdraws. Shankaracharya explains that fully withdraws. The reason it's fully is because his absolute firmness in that withdrawal. Okay, and he has control over that organs, the sense organs. He has control over the indriyani. Indriya is senses. So again, here the senses are talked about both jnanendriya and karmendriya. So both are talked about, and then indriyartha. So he has full control, fully withdraws those senses, jnanendriya and karmendriya, indriyartha. So from all the objects of senses. So indriya, vishaya. So here again, Shankaracharya explains that this indriya vishaya, it is known as objects. It's called as objects here. Okay, so whatever that comes to our indriyas, our entertains our indriyas. Okay, so our senses get attached. So it could be classified as shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha. Right. So anything that we hear, anything that we touch, rupa, anything that we see, rasa, anything that taste, anything that gandha, smell. Right. So anything in this, so all this our senses get attract, and so and the person, the sannyasi who is steadfastness in that knowledge, he fully withdraws the senses from all the objects of the senses. So indriya artya. So here it means, so he's fully from all the objects of senses, he withdraws from that. Iva means as. So he withdraws as a tortoise fully, wholly, angani. So that means its limbs as all the sides of out of fear. So when it is in fear, it withdraws everything inside. Just like that, when a man engaged in steadfastness to knowledge withdraws just like that, then his prajna, his wisdom, pratishtita, remains established. The meaning is, the portion is, the pratishtita is already explained. That means he remains steady in that state. So he's not distracted by anything. So now, the message here is, when the indriya, say for example, my eyes don't like anything to see anything beautiful, which I'm not attracted or anything like that, or ears don't want to listen anything. My taste buds do not ask for any tasty food, or my nose does not want to smell, and things like that. So if you are saying that my senses are coming under control, now the question might come saying that if somebody is blind, for example, he does not see anything beautiful or ugly or anything. So can we call that state somebody is having some disability or disease, suffering from any illness and things like that, because of that senses are not working? Does that person also classify here as a, what is the difference between that sthita prajna and this person who is actually having some sort of disability or disease, suffering from illness, right? Who does not have the senses working, right? So what is the difference? So to answer that question, Bhagavan in the next shloka, he explains in the 59th shloka, he explains Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasavarjam rasopyasya param drushpa nivartade. The objects recede from one abstinent man with the exception of taste for them. Even the taste of this person falls away after realization of that supreme realization, that absolute. So here Vishaya means objects of senses. It could be anything, as I said. It could be food, it could be a TV serial, it could be a YouTube channel, it could be something you like to see again and again, or hear or touch or whatever, right? So all those things. Vinivartante, restrain, niraharasya, practicing self-restraint, dehinha means for the embodied being, rasa varjam means cessation of taste, rasaha means taste, api means however, asya means persons, param means the supreme, drishtva means on realization, nivartate means cease to be. Now here Bhagavan explains that although the objects, that is the organs or the senses, they are here figuratively implied and expressed by the word objects, okay? Because actually it is the sense objects, or the objects like sound and so on, they themselves are classed here as Vishayaha. So Shankaracharya explains Vishayaha, Vishayo Palakshitani, Vishaya Shabdavachani, Indriyani. So he explains like that. So Vishaya here means, literal meaning is object, but here it is sense objects. Anything that triggers our senses or get attached to, attracted to, thinking about and going towards, okay? So that brings happiness to us. So those objects, so again, why the objects are called, those sense objects are called just objects here, is just like, for example, you have a tasty food and you drop a little bit of poison in it, okay? The food is now called poison, right? Even the food was good and there is only a little bit of poison added, the entire thing is known as poison. Similarly here, everything is known as related to the senses that get attracted, sense objects is known as objects, just called here as objects. So although the objects recede, so they vinivartante, they recede, viraharasya dehina, from the abstinent man, from an obstinate man, from an embodied being, even though some people engage painfully in austerities and abstain from objects. So, for example, I'm not going to eat, I'm fasting, or I'm not speaking, or I'm not going to listen, all these things and things like that. Still, they do. That's what he said. Still, they do. Rasavarjam, without exception of taste for them, with the exception of hankering on that one has those objects. So again, just because we stop something externally, different mean that we are not thinking about it. Okay. So rasavarjam, like for example, if you it's like looks like you're not interested, but actually you're interested in that. Okay. So we go to parties and I'm fasting. Okay, everybody eating and you feel like eating, but you're not eating because you're fasting. Okay, your mind is constantly thinking, I want that food, right? But you're fasting. So it is like that. So rasavarjam here is another example that's given, explained is like when you look at a tree, okay, either in summer, very hot summer where it's completely dried out and all the leaves are gone, dropped off, or in winter, for example, in these cold countries where all the leaves dropped, it looked like a dead tree. But when the temperature or the rain or whatever that comes, so good conditions come, it suddenly comes up. So the life still remains. So just like that, if you might look like you're given up everything, all the senses are under control, but still there is rasa, there is still taste. There is still taste here is rasa is taste, but that means there is still desire to have those objects. So that's still there in the mind. Okay. So rasavarjam then, so just like what happens is rasa is again, it is referring to sense of taste here, such as expression swarasena pravrataha, that means induced by his own taste and so on. Rasikaha means man of taste. Rasajna means again many tastes and things like that. So it is an expert in tastes and so on. So the objects again recede from unenlightened. These sense objects again recede from an unenlightened person, but the thirst for them does not stop. So that's the idea here. But even that taste of nature of subtle attachments, even the attachment of these petty joys that we experience, of that person, of that sannyasi, a man of steady wisdom who continues in life after knowing directly that I am that Paramatma, even after realizing, that falls away. So even that person has that kind of subtle taste in him, thinking about those kind of things, mind getting distracted, that also falls away. So nivartate. So that also falls away. That is, his objective perception becomes seedless. So when he, after attaining, after realizing Param, that is the absolute, the reality, that is the supreme goal, attaining that Brahman, realizing that Brahman, he continues in life with that realization that Ahameva Tat. I am verily that Brahman. I am certainly that. I am certainly that. I am certainly Brahman. So he thinks like that and he continues in that. So this rasa, this taste of the nature of the subtle attachment that he had, that steadily nivartate, falls away. So just like when morning sun rises, darkness gradually disappears. We don't see a cut off saying that like in a room we switch on a light and immediately darkness disappears. It's not like that. Gradually disappears. This is darkness disappears and light comes. Like that, in this person, even though he's controlling his senses forcibly, gradually it's done. Then again, Madhusudan Saraswati here again explains the use of the word api here, even, meaning even, means even in that case, that person's the attachment gradually falls off. The word that here it clearly explains that it is understood that the objects as well, the Vishayas, the sense objects as well, from him, they go away. So again, it is explained in the previously in the 46th Shloka, right? Yavanartha udapane sarvata sampradodake. As to the extent need of a when there is flood all around, what is the use of a tank of water or a bucket of water, whatever you have, right? So just like that, for that person, when he starts realizing that Ahameva Tat, I am that Brahman, I am Brahman, when he starts thinking that, when he starts realizing that and stays in that, then he does not have happiness in these external sense objects. That's why those sense objects gradually fall off. So thus, since the turning away of those sense objects altogether, together with the attachment to them, is a characteristic of a steady man of steady wisdom. So because that's a characteristic or an attribute of a sthita prajna, therefore it does not apply to a stupid person, like we looked at previously, a stupid person or a person who is disabled or suffering some illness and things like that. It does not apply to that person. Okay, so that's what the explanation is. If the question was, if a disabled person or somebody who does not have senses working properly is the same as that, no, this is not the same, because here the attachment is completely fallen off. Okay, the mind also does not think and he does not see those things, because he is always thinking Ahameva Tat. He is always thinking I am Brahman. He is always that, and he does not see any happiness or anything good in these external objects. So in the absence of full realization, there can be no eradication of the hankering. So Shankaracharya here clearly says that till one has that full realization, this attachment, this hankering for these sense objects remains. Okay, there is no fully eradication of this hankering. So the idea conveyed here is that one should therefore stabilize one's wisdom, which is characterized by full realization. So now Shankaracharya says that one should stabilize in that state, in that once that reach that I am Brahman, in that state once reaches, one should stabilize and stay there, try to stay there. Okay, so now there is a conflict here, right? Vicious circle. So one way we are saying that the attachment cannot be eliminated without the knowledge of Brahman. And at the same time, we are saying that the knowledge of Brahman cannot arise until the attachment is eradicated. Right? So there is two ways to look at. One, we are saying that you cannot have a realization until you are attached to all these things. Another thing, you are saying that till you have the realization, attachments will not go away. So which one, how do we go there? So the answer to that is, then that's a vicious circle, right? So you can't say that I'm realized because you are attached. You are not leaving these attachments because you're not realized. So the answer that is here is that the gross attachments, they are eliminated through discrimination, which again restrains the senses from being overpowered by the objects, the sense objects. So once one starts discriminating them, then the senses are not overpowered by them. And full knowledge, again, that full knowledge, that realization coming from that eliminates any subtle inclinations as well. So gradually that removes that inclinations as well. So if there is something left in the mind that still thinks about those objects, sense objects, it goes away as well. That's why there is no this vicious circle. So the message is start discriminating, start realizing that this is not good, the real thing is different. Then gradually, when the mind becomes steady in that kind of thoughts, these external objects gradually become, they nivartate, they fall off, they go away. So since the eradication of the objects together with the attachment to them does not occur in the absence of right knowledge of Supreme Self, therefore one should accomplish with great effort steadiness in that wisdom, which consists of right knowledge and is destroyer of the objects altogether with the attachment. So that's the meaning here. So the key message is one should keep trying and starting with this discrimination, with the gross attachments, any basic things. So we are too attached to that. So it is like in extreme cases, today's world, we see addiction therapies and things like that, right? So rehabilitation and all those kind of things we see, right? So that's the extreme cases of attaching to something. Now, if you go there and convert the brain to say that, okay, he's an alcohol addict and we have to rehabilitate him and blah, 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 right? So gradually they take them away. So gradually mind starts saying, okay, I don't need alcohol, or I don't need smoking, or I don't need whatever, drugs or whatever, right? So it gradually starts thinking like that. So gradually, then that falls away, saying that that desire to drink or to take drugs or whatever it was there, that falls away. So just like that here, it's saying that the other attachments we have in the general world, whether it is the family or the wealth or whatever we have, food or whatever we like, right? All those things, if you start thinking that is all false, and then the Paramatma, the Atma is the only one, that's the truth, and I am that, when you start feeling that, then gradually these things fall off. The external things, yavanartha udapane sarvada sampradodaki. Just like that, when you start seeing everything else as false, that your external sense organs feel everything else that is false and mind starts thinking inwards, then the external objects become useless, and your objects, those sense objects, are not going to, your senses are not going to be driven towards them. Instead, it will still continues to think inwards. So that's the meaning here. Again, since the organs have first to be brought under control by one who desires to establish firmly in this wisdom, which is characterized by the full realization. That's what Shankaracharya says, Samyak Darshana Lakshana Prajna Stairyam Chikirshata Adho Indriyani Svvp Sthapayittavyani. So full control of those organs should be brought under his control. So that's what it says here, and that's why Bhagavan in the next shlokas, he will speak of the evils that come from not keeping the senses under control. So we'll look at those shlokas from 60 onwards next time when we gather.